Hey guys, Martin here bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video. And so obviously yesterday in the news update we got the official teaser for the release of the TEQ Dokkan Fest Pan, who will be coming out tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow in all time zones, right, depending on where you are, because the banner's going to drop for me at what is essentially Tuesday morning, so it'll be Monday evening if you're in certain parts of the US. This video is going to be going out Monday afternoon my time, so I guess technically it's tonight depending on where you are. But yeah, TEQ Pan's banner is going to release. This video is being recorded the evening before, so as of right now we haven't had the data download yet, which will I mean, there's nothing really, I think, going to be surprising in there, like nothing that we don't already know about from the celebration the way it was on JP. The one thing that will be confirmed by the data download, most likely, as it usually is whether or not this banner will have purchasable tickets from the Pilaf Trove, which I assume it will, right? Like, I think for this year, almost every single Dokkan Fest, even... I was going to say filler Dokkan Fest, but even the big celebrations, right, have all had these ticket packs. Even like Saiyan Day, we had the ones for the worldwide celebration. So it seems pretty likely going forward that this is just a thing that Global is always going to get for the Dokkan Fests. We don't know which way, because they always seem to do different versions, right? There's a couple of different ways they do the tickets. It's either one pack that you get, and you get like a 20 unit multi, and the last one is guaranteed featured. Or they do the ones where you buy a certain like load of tickets and then you get to do like 5 unit summons and there's no guaranteed featured, but they're GSSR. Either way, if you're somebody who spends on the game, they're usually pretty good value when you calculate based on how many units you get from the summons with all the tickets. They usually work out cheaper than buying the same amount of stones it would take to summon those units. So if you're somebody who does spend on the game, they usually are quite valuable. So obviously in this video we're going to talk about TEQ Pan, we're going to talk about the side banner unit, the Trunks and Giru, talk about the banner a little bit in general, and obviously the whole point of the video, as by the title, is should you summon on this banner or not. So, TEQ Pan, she leads Bond of Friendship and Dragon Ball Seekers for 170, and then an extra 30% to GT Heroes. So it's not the hugest 200% lead, but you know, you can make a pretty solid team with her. Obviously they give her a lot of buffs with units getting easy A's, the side banner unit, all that kind of stuff throughout the celebration. Now I did talk about this briefly in the video where we went over the official confirmation in the news, but one thing to bear in mind straight away is she does not have a unique leader skill. So this is something that I think is always worth considering when you summon for units, right? You know, we've seen new categories, we've seen obviously with the release of 200% leaders, we're using a bunch of old categories together with certain buffs. And one of the good things about that is it makes some of these units not necessarily a super high priority to summon for. So if you're someone who's free to play or doesn't spend a lot on the game and there's something in the future that you potentially want to save up for, TEQ Pan, because she leads 2 teams that already exist and obviously already have leaders, it is possible to build a team using a unit that you already have, like for example TEQ Gale and Caulifla, who lead Bond of Friendship. Build a Bond of Friendship team and then run a TEQ Pan friend if you want to try her out in the game and see what she's like. And obviously you don't actually have to have your own copy of her in order to run a team. So it's only when units come out that have like a very unique leader skill that you obviously can't do that. And then of course, depending on, you know, how useful the units are overall, it's then up to you to decide, because, you know, some of the 200% leads that we've gotten so far are obviously in different leagues in terms of how useful they are compared to each other. But TEQ Pan, essentially she is a big damage dealer, right? She infinitely stacks attack. She has 3 different unit super attacks, and each of those greatly raise attack as an infinite stack. So obviously if you're getting any additionals, you get her normal non-unit super, but that also stacks attack as well. And so all of this leads up to one of the main things that you'll have seen people talking about from when she released on JP, is that you stack her attack up to a ridiculous level, then you use her active skill, which greatly raises her attack temporarily by even more, does ultimate damage to the enemy, and you also get a 59% chance to crit, not only on the active skill, but then you'll have that for the follow-up attacks as well. And I've seen clips and screenshots and stuff of this active skill doing like 30-40 million damage with crits against bosses. So if you just stack her up and then use the active skill in the final phase, she can literally one-shot like most of the bosses in the game, which is obviously very impressive when it comes to power. Now, her weaknesses, I did watch, shout out to Minato, I watched a video of him using his 55% pan against the couple of the Red Zone Wicked Bloodline stages. And her biggest issue is the fact that she's a unit that she reduces damage by 50% before attacking. So obviously, when you read her passive, like on paper, it makes it seem like she's a unit that you want to put in slot 1. And she can tank reasonably well in slot 1 because, you know, 50% damage reduction. But then once she's attacked, she loses that 50% damage reduction. And she doesn't raise defense on super attack. She does have decent start of turn, 150% to attack and defense. She also gets 50% attack and defense when super attacking. Well, actually it's when attacking, so she doesn't even need to super. But then that's it, right? She doesn't have the guard. With each attack performed, she builds up her attack and defense a little bit. And she also does have a built-in chance to additional. In fact, she gets a guaranteed additional normal that has a 50% chance to become a super. So she can build up a little bit and then obviously be a bit less of a liability. But I've seen a lot of clips of people putting her in slot 1, not taking a lot of damage, super attacking, and then getting hit for ridiculous amounts of damage after that when she's lost her damage reduction. So especially at 55%, you have to be very aware that, you know, she can be quite fragile in certain situations. But overall, I mean, she's a decent unit. She's fun. I definitely would not say she's like a must-have, especially with all the stuff that we have coming up in the year. So unless you are like a big GT fan or big hybrids fan, I mean, I personally think this is, especially right after the worldwide celebration, where I imagine most people spent quite a lot of the stones that they've been saving up. I feel like this is the perfect like skip banner, right? The Trunks and Giru that come with her, obviously they're designed to run on her team. They change a bunch of orbs. They support GT Heroes, Bond of Friendship, and Dragon Ball Seekers. This is one of those support passives where it stacks. So if you're on all 3 categories, you get all of the buffs. Each one is 1 key and 20% attack and defense. So of course, Pan is on all of those. So, you know, one of the ways a side banner unit can be good for these Dokkan Fest banners is, you know, they very much juice up the main unit. So 60% to stats. Also, if you pick up 7 orbs, which, you know, they create their own, so it's not super difficult. They also give an extra 10% as well as 10% chance to crit. So they'll give Pan 70% support on the rotation that they're on. But unfortunately, again, if you're someone, if you want to give a couple of multis at the banner, maybe buy the tickets or something like that, if you just pull them and not Pan, they're obviously not going to be anywhere near as useful, which I feel is another contributor to this banner not being super high value to summon on. Now, if we look at the banner itself, this is how it looked on JP. Obviously, we have Pan and Trunks and Giru, and then this was the first return of AGL Captain Ginyu. So the rest of the banner is not great. Like, Trunks is okay, Gogeta's aged, even the GT Super Saiyans have aged. So realistically, the main units are Pan, Ginyu, and Trunks. Trunks, I don't think is even in like the top 10 TURs for most people. Ginyu obviously is still high up there, and I know people are a bit worried because this banner has come slightly earlier in the schedule than we would have thought. I know people have expressed concern that Ginyu won't be on the banner. But if we take a look at Captain Ginyu, he released on Global at the end of May. So with us being at the beginning of October, that means he's been out for what? 4 months? Because May was 5 months ago, but it was right at the end of May and we're at the beginning of October. So 4 like full months have passed since he came out. I think that's a perfectly reasonable time for a Dokkan Fest to have gone and then come back on another banner. So I do expect Ginyu to still be on Pan's banner. I mean, it's a very similar case to when she came out on JP. For a lot of people, Ginyu is going to be the main selling point of her banner, right? There will absolutely be people out there that will only throw a few multis at her banner, maybe buy the tickets or whatever, because they want to try and pull Ginyu rather than pulling her. So I definitely do not imagine that he's going to be taken off the banner. I don't think there's any unit they could replace him with that would make the banner more hype for people. Except for maybe, I guess, off the top of my head, actually, Majin Vegeta. Because, of course, with the way the Saiyan Day units have worked in the past, sometimes it takes almost a full year for them to come back on a banner. So, I mean, this banner would be elevated to insane levels of hype if they switched out Trunks for Majin Vegeta. Because unfortunately, I don't think they'll switch out any of the 3 GT SSRs, because obviously they're on Pan, can be run on Pan's team. But I could see Trunks getting changed out. That would actually be insane. If this banner had Captain Ginyu and Majin Vegeta, but I don't realistically expect that to happen, although that would obviously be pretty fantastic for global players. So her banner, not super high value apart from Ginyu. Obviously, a lot of people have just been saving up coins to potentially buy him, so you don't even need to summon on the banner. So I don't think the banner is going to be super high value. Again, this is being recorded before the data downloads, so there is a possibility we get, if there is like a banner graphic in the files, we will actually get to potentially see whether it changes, but at the time of recording, we only have the JP version to go by. So the other thing you have to consider is what is going to come out after this. So if we look over on the JP side, Pan was actually the Dokkan Fest that JP got before the worldwide download celebration. So the future schedule is a little bit confusing because we've skipped over the Resurrection of F Blues. Oh, actually, they'll be on the previous page, right? They came out at the end of May. And then Golden Frieza was their Part 2 LR. So we've completely skipped over that. And then, of course, in at the end of June, JP got the Tanabata Festival banner, which was, of course, the release of Gallic Gun, Trunks and Vegeta with the side banner Goku Black. That is, we would expect to see that around November, because this is where we are in last year's time frame, so October 2021. Dokkan Fest, AGL Kid Gohan came out, so this is the section we're in now. And then we moved through October. The celebration basically takes up the whole of October. And then we moved on to November. And this, right at the beginning of November, is where TEQ Gogeta released, who was, of course, the Tanabata unit from last year. So, in theory, this is where Father Son Gallic Gun, Trunks and Vegeta will release on Global. So, that means that this banner is basically a month away. And, of course, you know, regardless of what people want to compare between them, TEQ Super Saiyan Goku and like STR Cooler, Goku and Vegeta are like, Trunks and Vegeta are basically the best unit in the game. You know, they're at least top 3, even if you do prefer other units. And their team is probably one of the best teams in the game, because obviously they lead Bond of Parent and Child, which has pretty much, past a certain early point in the series, has like every Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Trunks. Like, their team is incredibly good. So, obviously, any stones that you don't spend on Pan's banner will all be stones that you will have ready for this. And then, of course, for a lot of people like myself, very hype, the end of November is when the Heroes celebration comes out. So, there's a lot of stuff going on, even just in November, let alone, you know, December as well, up to the end of the year. So, honestly, with everything that's coming, obviously, if you're a big fan of GT and you really like the Pan unit, then, you know, it is what it is. Try out a couple of multis, buy the tickets if you spend. But I think this banner is very much largely for a lot of people a huge skip, which is kind of the what I've been seeing in the comments from the reveal video. So if you are somebody who is excited to summon on the banner, let me know down below. Let me know if you're going to plan to maybe just use the tickets and then buy the sales and save the stones and just see how it goes. Obviously, I will be summoning for her because, you know, it's kind of... it's what I do, right? So hopefully we can get her nice and easy. Usually, I'm hoping for a repeat of like the Raditz and AGL Trunks luck, because for me it seems to be usually the units that I really don't care about getting. I get very good luck on the banners, and then when it comes to Trunks and Vegeta, I wouldn't be surprised if it takes me like 2,000 stones to pull a copy of them. So we'll see how it goes. Obviously, I will be streaming some summons when the banner comes out, so keep an eye out on the channel. And let me know what you guys think down below about summoning for TEQ Pan. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.